Hey, YouTubers and fellow off-gridders. This is Off-Grid Amateur. Um, I'm not going to be in the shot today, and that's okay. I got better things to look at, and so do you. This drum is a 40-gallon plastic food-grade drum. And this is what I use to manage my gray water that drains out of the 3 drains and combines into this drum underground. There's some standing water in here just from the rain, but this lid has a ring and attaches, so it'll come off. And I buried this down about 12 inches below grade. I'm going to walk around the back of the cabin and show you where I buried it and show you how it works. But I drilled a hole in the lid and installed what's called a bulk adapter. Okay, so we're going to walk around the cabin, and that bulk adapter is mounted in the center, and that allows me to attach pipe fittings. So I attached pipe fittings to this, a couple of my generators I keep back here. There's our bird feeder. This is the window unit bird feeder that I built out of PVC pipe. It is what allows us to get that full view of the window of the birds and stuff. So, you know, they make a bit of a mess on the side of the house, but we enjoy watching them. But back here, amongst all these tall weeds, you'll see this is a standpipe. And in that standpipe is a duct fan. And that riser comes out of the ground from my drainage pipe. And what it does is this pipe keeps the entire system under negative air pressure so that I don't get any odors inside the house. Directs it away from the home. But down here, you'll see I got a couple of bricks and blocks. There's that lid. That's holding it down. It's completely submerged. It's just below grade and buried amongst all these weeds. And you can't see it, but there's a 1-inch PVC pipe. You might be able to catch a glimpse of it as I work back through here. That PVC pipe that's underground, that actually attaches to the pipe coming out of the top of the lid. And it runs up a slope, uphill, and you can't see it because all these weeds are serving as my gray water system. And there's a mound of dirt that was already here on the property. And that mound of dirt, what it does is it absorbs the gray water. Okay, so all this weed growth, I rely on that for the root system to absorb that gray water. And you see these weeds back here, they are just absolutely healthy and tall, and they're taking that gray water that gets soaked into that mound. Because, you know, we only put about, I get a shot of me behind, we only put about 12 gallons a day into the system. But, you know, with this system, sloped as it is, with that pipe sloping uphill toward the top of that mound, and it's exposed, so it's exposed to the elements. So in the wintertime, normally that would be subject to freezing, and it doesn't freeze because of the slope. When the pump that's in the bottom of that in that tank that's hanging suspended energizes, it delivers about 3 gallons of water up to the mound, and 25 feet of 1-inch pipe holds approximately 1 gallon. So when the float switch de-energizes the pump, 1 gallon of that water that's in that pipe drains back into the tank. And it's not enough to short cycle or cause it to kick on again, but that drain back is what prevents it from freezing. So throughout the winter months, when it's super, super cold, that pipe drains back and it doesn't freeze it shut. So it continues to work all winter long, and that water hits the ground, gets soaked up, and the microbes do what the microbes do. Now that tank that's underground has that what we call a pond pump. I'm going to walk back around the house, turn the phone around so you can see where we're going. That pump is suspended in that water column as it drains. The gray water drains, and when that pump, where it's elevated, and the float switch puts that pump about 6 inches below the surface. And that means that all the heavier stuff that makes it through my gray water system, little bits of food, you know, and as you can see, this is the mound where the dirt is. And you see how tall those weeds are. I mean, they're just being nourished like crazy off of that gray water. But when that pump energizes and pulls water 6 inches below the surface, that is the cleanest water in that tank. All the heavy stuff sinks to the bottom, and the microbes do what microbes do. They just break it down, okay? There's no human waste. There is urine, bits of food particles, and anything that might come off of you in the form of human waste. It's such an infinitesimal amount. It doesn't really have any consequence as far as filling that tank up. But all those food bits and particles, they end up getting broken down by microbes. And anything that floats on the surface never sees the pump anyway. I haven't opened it up yet since I installed it. It's been in operation for a couple of years now, probably closer to a year and a half, and haven't had any issues with it, even in the wintertime with freezing. So what I do is when we pull that water out, it is the cleanest water available in a tank. So in any standing tank of water, the cleanest water is always going to be the water that is about 6 inches below the surface. The heavy stuff sinks, the light stuff floats, and we're drawing it through basically like a backyard fountain pond pump. It doesn't have real high velocity. It's very low energy. Doesn't require a lot of energy to start, and it delivers that water up to the mound, and then what's in the pipe drains back. And that's how I manage my gray water. All of my drains, and you won't be able to see them, but if you look under the house here, there is a gap that is in the house, and there's a space there. And on this concrete right here, I have 3 pipes that were stubbed up out of the concrete when it was poured. And those pipes, I cut them off just short enough to allow me to glue on a 4-inch coupling. And a 4-inch coupling has a height, when it's configured that way, of 4 3/4 inches. Well, the foam insulation that's under the house sits about, I'm sorry, did I say 4 3/4? It's 3 3/4 inches. The foam insulation in the house, it sits about 3.5 inches above the concrete. So when this house was set in place, I had reference marks on the concrete and the house. And the 1.5-inch drain lines that were stubbing through the floor ended up indirectly sitting in the center of all of those 3 4-inch couplings. And because they were 4-inch couplings, an 1.5-inch PVC has just under 2 inches in outside diameter, it gave me a 1-inch margin of error in all directions. So even if they missed the mark, or I measured something just a little bit off, I could still have all of my indirect drains hitting the insides of those couplings. And given their height and the space of the insulation, which is just slightly less than the height of the coupling, it actually compressed the insulation just a little bit on that coupling, making a seal. And of course, with the negative air pressure, the draft in the system all the time, I never get any types of odors inside the house. And the reason that that's important is because the shower isn't trapped. Because it sits directly on an indirect drains, my shower drain is not trapped. With no trap seal, you can always get some odors coming up through it. But I have a little silicone sleeve device. I'm gonna probably pause the video, go and get that and show it to you, just so that you can see what I'm talking about. But all of that indirects through those 3 drains that were in the concrete, and it ends up making its way. And like I said, all this brush and stuff behind the house, I really need to clean it up, but I like it because the brush, it absorbs all that water and really takes care of any water management. I'm going to pause the video now as we're walking around the property and go get that silicone sleeve. All right, so I don't know if you can make this out, but this is just a little tiny silicone sleeve, and it seals shut, but there's actually a gap here. You can actually get your finger all the way through it, and you see that opening right there. Under the pressure of water, when water hits this from above in the shower drain, it opens that up, but then it closes. And there's a metal ring that once you insert this down inside the shower drain, and it does require an 1.5-inch drain, and most shower drain assemblies are 2 inches. So those that 1.5 inches, to reduce that, I just installed a bushing where you would normally attach the pipe, I just installed a bushing that reduces down to 1.5 inches, and that allowed this to push down in there, and these little ribs cause it to seal. And then once you got it in there, then you take this this metal ring and press it down inside the silicone, and it creates kind of a rigid, so it doesn't slip through and fall into your drainage system, you know. But this little device right here basically functions as a trap seal, so that there are no odors going to be able to make it up, sewer gnats, anything like that, that can actually come up through your drain. And because of the way that the house is sitting directly on that concrete pad, you know, as you can see from this assembly right here, there they are together, and this ring would insert down, this ring right here would insert down inside, and that's how it sits in the drain, you know, just like this, you know. So that's kind of you can find these, I found these on eBay, but if you look over here on the corner of the house, the cabin, I've got some paint marks that I put in. And when the house was delivered, I don't know if you can see that or not. I'll go around to some place where it's shady. There it is. When the house was delivered, I'd already gone down to the shop and I had put these marks on here relative to where the penetrations were in the floor for the drains. And then I laid the same marks out on the concrete, so that when they delivered the house and set down one end, because that's how they do it, they set down one end and then they set down the other end. I had horizontal lines this way and a line this way, and I wanted those to line up. And I didn't want to do it just on one corner. I needed to do it on several corners. So, you know, even if we missed the mark, which like right here, this mark is like a 1/2 inch off from the edge. As I said, I had a 1-inch margin of error in all directions, given the diameter of the drain pipe penetrating the floor and the coupling, which has 4.5 inches versus 2 inches. It gave me about 1 inch of margin in all directions. And that's how all of my gray water drains dump into a common underground pipe. Takes it all to that blue drum, and when the levels activate the float switch, the float switch energizes, delivers the water up a hill to this elevated mound, and we're only doing about 12 to 15 gallons a day that's hitting it, so it's well under the limit for a leach mound. And if you want to know how to build a leach mound, you know, you can look that up online, because there's a certain component. But this was a pile of porous dirt that had been excavated previously, so there's no clay, and it's just dirt, and it has tons of root systems with plants in it. So that's really important. But that allows me to get rid of my gray water. You know, a lot of people, they don't know how we do that to manage the gray water. You know, it's like this property that I'm on, you know, I don't have the septic, as you know. We burn our poo, but we still have to manage our water waste in a way that is sanitary, you know, and the microbes do what microbes do, but and that is to break down the waste. And the root systems in the plants, they're going to manage that gray water for us as well. So, you know, if you have any questions about the design, I might be able to post a picture in the comments, doing a brief sketch or something that shows, you know, the layout of water in, water out, how it's set up. If you're not sure what a bulk adapter is or a tank adapter is, you know, they're available at most farm stores, and it just allows you to drill a hole in a large tank, and then it gives you threads that are necessary to attach pipe fittings, you know, and that's how that pipe is suspended, just on that, in the bottom of that lid. And it's been working great for me for the last 1.5 years. Haven't had any issues with it freezing, you know. And like I said, if you got any questions, comments about the system, I'll try to get them answered as quickly as possible. Yeah, give me a shout out. Go ahead and click on that subscribe button if you haven't already. And you see some of the other content that I post. I still haven't done anything on my solar system and that setup, you know. And I'm walking, I'm assuming that I'm in the frame. I may not be, you know, but you know, if I turn that around, you can see a wide shot. There's 3 solar panels. There's 3 solar panels. Got several of them in different configurations, but it's more than enough to satisfy our power needs. The only thing that we have to run a generator for is an air conditioner. Fortunately, today it's comfortable. The dew point temperature is low, you know, and I've got plenty of generators to handle that. So, like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead and give me something in the comments, and maybe I can draw a quick sketch to show you how that thing is laid out, and then you can maybe build one for yourself. Okay, Off-Grid Amateur here, signing off, and y'all have a great day and enjoy your Saturday.